Hey, everybody, I'm really excited about this podcast that you're about to watch. The episode's so good, the content is so good, but we happen to have some random little audio difficulties throughout the recording, which we didn't know until we went to the editing. So I apologize. There's going to be points where the episode jumps around a little bit, but that's just because there was this like farty humming noises that we couldn't cut out. So enjoy the content. It's a really, really good episode, and thanks for your patience. Adrian! See, this is the best. This is the best intro ever to a podcast.
Ever.
Yeah, ever. So, Adrienne and Ali, I feel like this is like the girl takeover with 8 names.
It's always a girl takeover at Hopeline.
Oh, wow. Dropping it early. How many times do you guys say Hopeline this podcast? A lot?
Ooh, let's count.
Yeah.
What do I
Let's
get
get
if
a counter on the
if I
screen.
get over 100?
Well, you probably won't ever beat the coffee record for the coffee.
I did see that.
That was crazy. That wasn't even all of the coffees. Zach had to cut it off. Yeah, it was like he cut off like a minute or something. There's like a whole nother minute of that.
That's so intense.
Yeah, imagine being him for like the 2 hours it took to sit there and cut it all out.
My question is, how many times was Jesus said in that podcast though? Because like coffee seems to be like, where's Jesus falling there?
All right, you know what? Let's start over. Well, Adrian, I'm super happy you're here today, and also same thing with Ali. We kicked Andres out.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're like, get out of here, sick boy. And
yeah, seriously.
And now it's just the three of us and Zach, as always. Zach, do you have a mic today? No, it's all right. We have more women voices today than guy voices, which is great.
Yeah.
So, Adrian, for those of us who don't know you or anything, like, tell us. Oh, before we get into that, wait, you brought something just like that we've been doing gifts. Did you know about this, Ali? Have you been watching the podcast?
You started it after I was on it.
Yeah.
I guess I wasn't worthy of a gift.
Yeah, so you're supposed to bring the gift.
I didn't know that. I did not have adequate amount of time before I knew I would be doing the podcast. I didn't know
What about
it was
for this
supposed
one?
to be a gift. No, I didn't know.
Okay. All right. But Adrian brought something.
I
She
did
did.
only find out like 2 hours ago
For what?
that I needed to bring a gift.
Oh, okay. Well, you brought one anyways.
I did.
So what'd you bring?
I brought a baby bottle, a Hopeline baby bottle for like 37 years. We've been fundraising using these cute little baby bottles, and churches take them, and people in the churches fill them with.
Slot.
Yeah, there's a little coin slot, coins, cash, and checks.
Let me see that.
And honestly, there are so many. There are people on our board who were kids when we did baby bottles. Actually, our new center director, Laura Trillo, some of you may know, she remembers doing baby bottles as a kid too.
Whoa.
And Zach is nodding his head like he also remembers doing them as a child.
Did you? Wow.
Yeah.
So
you literally order them from like a pro-life fundraising organization, and they have these baby bottles with the coin slot. So they're fun because families get involved doing baby bottles, and then kids, like when Zach was a kid, when he remembered Hopeline. And so it's just fun because a lot of people remember doing them. So I brought you guys
awesome.
a Hopeline baby bottle.
Toss it back there.
Actually goes back here.
Yeah, toss it back there on the shelf. There you go. Look at that.
Next to the kitten with bread.
It's a baguette. That's all the way from Japan, by the way.
A baguette is bread, in case you're ordering.
Yeah, well, French bread. I don't know. I was trying to correct you. Like that should be another counter. How many times I correct them this podcast? That'll go up.
Are you
there
gonna
too.
mansplain?
No.
I have a question. I love the blue. Is that Hopeline's color, or does that just happen to be the baby bottle color?
Yes to both.
Okay.
Oh, we do have yellow ones too.
Cute.
But I brought a blue one. But Hopeline's color is blue because like medical blue, you think of blue.
Ah, that's cool.
So, yes.
So, Adrian, are you a Connecticut native?
Nope.
What?
I'm from
Are you
New
serious?
York. Yeah.
What? Where in New
knew
York?
this.
I didn't know this.
Yes,
Did you
you
tell
did.
me this before?
Yes.
Okay, so just for those people listening, I've confused Adrian's name for like a month and called her the wrong names. So it doesn't happen a lot, but sometimes it happens.
It does.
So I'm not surprised. We actually talked about this before?
Yeah, but that's okay.
Okay, so
can
tell
tell
me
you
about
again.
where you grew up in.
I grew up in Westchester, New York, in White Plains. I was born and raised in White Plains. And I'm a transplant, but I claim nutmegger hood. I am a nutmegger now.
You don't call it being a Connecticutian?
Connecticut.
no, I
Yeah,
do
right?
not.
Is that what's the proper, do we know the proper
thought it was
Connecticut person term?
Connecticut cutter. Connecticut?
I haven't heard.
I swear I saw that
Just a New Englander, maybe.
on my Instagram. I'm now getting a bunch of Connecticut videos. I think I've been here long enough now that it's like best places to go in Connecticut, best food, most boring town in Connecticut. I watched that one the other day, and it said, the person in the video said, yeah, us Connecticuters.
Nah, they're trying to brand
wrong.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, they must not be natives.
Well, Ray's not helping me out because I'm not a native, so I don't, just
Me
trying to
neither.
fit in.
I'm just trying to fit in
Okay,
too.
we are not Connecticuters though.
No. But I have been here for like 10 years, so.
Yeah. Well,
go on.
nutmeggers is negative. That's a negative one. Because Connecticut's like largest export was nutmeg, but we didn't grow any nutmeg. And so I think the nutmegger term comes from, I guess raw nutmeg looks like looks like rocks. So they'd fill up a bag of rocks and put some nutmeg on top and then sell the bag as like pure nutmeg.
So, yeah.
What's like your family background and stuff?
So,
Did you grow up in like a Christian home? Like how'd you end up
Actually,
coming to Connecticut in the first place?
Yeah,
Like
so
let's get there. Like start
that's
with
a cool story.
Yeah.
So I'll make it short though.
Sure.
My parents weren't saved and they worked. And the local crossing guard at our elementary school, me and my sister, I do have two sisters, but the youngest wasn't born yet. She was the neighborhood babysitter, but she was a Christian. And so she would say, okay, I can babysit, but Monday nights is choir practice. Tuesday night is prayer night. Wednesday night is family night at church. Thursday night is Bible study. And my mom would be like, well, like when can you babysit? So her name is Leah. And Leah ended up taking us to church. Like when she would babysit us, we would just go to church with her. And my sister and I loved it. And we got saved as children. And someone had actually planted a seed with my parents a year prior saying, oh, you guys should visit this church. It's great. My mom wrote it in a notebook. She was like, yeah, whatever. And then when we knew church was happening, my sister and I, we would beg my parents, oh my gosh, please bring us to church. And they'd be like, all right, fine. And so they ended up coming to church, and it was the church that my mom's friend had suggested. And so my sister and I were saved before my parents, and then my parents came to church. And so honestly, that kind of started my passion for children. So grew up in the church, I went to Bible college in Pennsylvania.
Where'd you go?
Valley Forge Christian College. It's now called University of Valley Forge.
Wait, did you know where that was, being a Pennsylvania native?
Probably not.
A Pennsylvanian?
It's so yes and no. It's interesting because where I went to college outside of Philadelphia, there's Valley Forge National Park and there's Valley Forge Military Academy and all these things, but it's like not close. They're not.
Well, it kind of is.
Kind
You
of.
have to drive through Valley Forge National Park to get to Phoenixville, Pennsylvania,
Yes.
where the school is.
It's really is the middle of nowhere.
But it's actually near Philly. It's like 40
Yes.
minutes north of Philly.
Yeah.
Is that what you tell people when they're like, where'd you go to school? You're like, 40 minutes north of Philly.
No, I actually usually tell people, sorry to Valley Forge. I'm like, I got my master's at Manhattanville College. Like just brush right over Valley Forge. Yeah, so I went, I got my undergrad in early childhood education.
Well, you're going to be a teacher? Is that your plan?
Teacher. It was my plan. And I feel like I use those skills sometimes still. Yeah, my plan was to be a teacher. I went to Bible college. It was great. Honestly, it was good.
For what?
And for teaching. So I'm really a literacy specialist.
Wow.
My master's in professional studies. And I jokingly say that I can teach a rock to read. So if you have a rock and you need for it to learn to read.
What about a
I got
dog?
you. Yeah, my dog can read, actually.
Really?
He's so smart.
Are you being serious or are you joking?
I'm 100% joking.
Okay, because I know there's some like animals that can like sort colors and stuff. I was like, maybe the dog can tell.
The whole button. That's the
Yeah,
music,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
button.
yeah. I've seen that on
Yeah.
TikTok.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have seen that on TikTok.
My in-laws' dog rings a bell when he wants to go outside. Yeah, so I
Smart.
figured maybe there is a dog
Very
that can
smart.
pick
No.
out a couple words or something.
Yeah, next
yeah.
step.
I mean, he
reading.
could pick out words. Like he knows
Yeah.
sit, but he can't
Ah,
read
yeah,
them.
it's spoken though. You can't read it.
Yeah, I know.
All right, go on. Sorry.
That's okay. So I actually started a position at the church that I kind of grew up in Stamford.
Whoa.
Yes, while I was doing my master's at night, I was the kids director there for the kids ministry, which, I love kids. I got saved in kids ministry, such an important ministry in the church. And then, the Lord called me onto the missions field. And so I did the world race for a year. So I did my master's for a year and kids ministry for a year. Then the Lord called me into the missions field. The world race is an 11-month, 11-country mission trip. So I did that for a year, lived in Southeast Asia, East Africa, Eastern Europe, and Latin America.
Whoa.
Best thing I ever did, lived out of my backpack, had no running water some months, lived out of a tent.
How big was your backpack?
It was like 75 liters. Like,
sounds gigantic. But
yeah, it was.
Can you fit a body in there?
I mean, like a small body, like probably one of your kids could fit in there.
Okay.
Yeah. No, probably like older than a toddler.
But your tent was in your backpack.
It was on the bottom. I strapped it to the bottom.
Oh, that's
My
cool.
sleeping bag was in there.
Oh, wait, hold on. Zach, 75-liter backpack. Do you have that for camping? No? How big's your backpack?
40 liters.
He says 40 liters.
Okay, that's for like a weekend.
People do the long trail in with like a 30-liter backpack or like the AT. So
How long are they gone?
like 4 months.
Okay, this was 11 months. I was like in the bush of Africa with no access to like shampoo or basic needs or necessities.
Yeah, so you had to
you
carry all that with you?
everything that you needed for a year. I literally had a pharmacy in my bag.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Did you get any like injuries or terrible sicknesses while you were gone?
Yeah, I was very sick for most of Africa.
Most of it? How long were you in Africa for?
3 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's a long time to be sick.
Where were you in
In
Africa? Because Ali was in Africa
I
too.
know she was. We were not in the same place. I was in Ethiopia, Uganda, and Rwanda.
Any food that you had during your year that you really wanted locally and you found like a restaurant that does it well?
Bold of you to assume that I was in places that had restaurants.
I just mean like the local food, not restaurants.
Honestly, when I was living in Thailand, we had like the best Thai food, the best street Thai food.
Whoa.
That was so fun. African food, honestly, we ate like beans and rice. Our food budget for the day was $5. So, I had to fundraise for a year and then everything was budgeted out. So our budget was $5. So did what we could on $5 a day.
Were there some days where you splurged and then other days you're like,
Yeah, like we spent our own money, your own money. But yeah, mostly. I mean, there were some Europe though. I love Europe. Spent a lot of time in Europe, even outside of this missions trip. And Europe was a very welcomed reprieve. Also because we were there in like March and April, and we were chasing summer on the equator for most of the trip. So it was nice to not be like drenched in sweat every second of the day. So Europe was a nice reprieve for us, but we enjoyed eating our way through Europe for sure. We did. Yeah, it's cool.
All right, so you had this year doing missions.
I did.
And then while you were there, did you have any like great like life epiphanies or like
Honestly,
were you just
yes, I did. I really felt like the Lord needed to take me out of the comfort of my Western culture to just like change me and my worldview. And I just didn't realize it, but was just very selfish and self-centered. And the Lord needed to remove me to just put me in my place. And so I really feel like it changed who I am as a person, and also, just how I operate, how I think, how I see ministry in general. So it was very poignant for me. Like it was the only way the Lord could get a hold of me. And I was saved before, and I knew the Lord, but it just was necessary for me. It's definitely not necessary for everyone, but the Lord was like, I need to transplant you to fix you. So it was great. And January on the world race, I was in Rwanda, and the Lord told me, you're going back to your old job. And I was like, no. So I actually emailed my old pastor and I said, hey, just wondering if the position is open. I really feel like the Lord told me that. And he was like, we're not going to wait for you. In like a loving way. Like if we find someone, we're going to fill the position. Hey, so great to see you. Do you still want to come back? Because they hadn't filled the position. I said, of course. Yeah. So I went back to my role as kids director, and I finished my master's, which was hard. It was hard to stop your master's and then start it again. And then, so that's, I started all that August, September, my job and master's again. And then that spring, So this was all in Stanford. You know, the Lord had called me to Connecticut. I felt like I was a missionary to Connecticut. And that spring, the former CEO and executive director came to a women's ministry event. And because I was on staff, I was there. And I heard them speak, and I looked over at a friend, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have to work there. But there were no open positions. You know, I just felt a stirring, and just, okay, Lord, you know, whatever you want to do, you're going to show me. And in September, I found out the director of the Stanford Center was leaving, or she left her position. I was like, oh my gosh. So I immediately emailed the CEO, and I was like, hey, don't know if you remember me, would love to meet with you, you know, whatever. So I started interviewing, and I just said, I just need, you know, I think I was like 25, and I was going to turn 26, and I was like, I need a full-time job because I need insurance. And honestly, Hopeline had never, Linda, the former CEO, was the only full-time employee ever. And Hopeline had never done insurance before, for health insurance for staff. So I had actually pitched the idea, can you combine 2 jobs so I can do them both and be full-time? And so they took a huge chance on me because I was super young. And I mean, it was the Lord, obviously, but they took a risk with, you know, I didn't know what I was doing. I had no idea. And so they said yes, and I came on board. I started as a Stanford Center Director, and I was supposed to do fundraising and Center Director at the same time, but it just snowballed into a lot of other things, which, you know, ministry does. And it's been just incredible. Like, truly, I could cry. Truly the joy of my life that the Lord has called me to Hopeline. It's just such a gift to me. So it's been great. I love it.
So really quickly, for those who aren't in the know already with what Hopeline is, give us like a really quick little synopsis and then ask some questions. Yeah.
Okay.
Like what Hopeline is, what they do, and then like add more questions.
So actually, this is a cool fact. Hopeline actually started out of a men's ministry in Trumbull. There was a retired Pan Am pilot that just said, Lord, like, what do you want me to do in my retirement? And the Lord was like, I want you to rescue the unborn. And he was like, I don't know how to do that. And it started as Live, Laborers for the Innocent and Voiceless, and it was a crisis phone line, which is why we're called Hopeline
that's
now.
Cool.
Wow.
And that's kind of how it started, and then it developed into like someone's basement, the founder's basement. Women would come, not creepy at all, and then started in actual physical locations, and they, you know, women would come get supplies, and then we went medical in 2007. So Hopeline is a pro-life pregnancy center ministry, and we offer totally free services to women and men in the community. And there's 3 parts to our ministry. The first part is prevention. And this happened a lot before COVID, and then COVID happened. And also I can't be in 50 million places at once. So it did not die. It is sleeping right now, this part of the ministry, but it will come back to life. We would go into the schools, and actually I was going into schools teaching about sexual risk avoidance and healthy relationships. And they used to call me the sex lady, and which has a lot of connotations, but just to be clear, I'm not
education.
It's education.
In the classroom.
In the classroom. That's all it was. So I would go into the schools and teach about abstinence and like why it's important to choose abstinence. And I would go into the Christian schools and I could talk about God, but you know, in the public schools, I couldn't, but we're teaching these biblical principles to students. And so that was really fun. And we do that one-on-one in the center now. When we get women that come in, even if they are pregnant, if they're negative or positive and they're not married, you know, we talk to them about what does sexual risk avoidance mean? And like, why is that healthy? Why is that important for you? So that's the prevention part of our ministry. The intervention is the pregnancy testing, the ultrasounds, the options coaching. And we do talk about all of their options. Everything we do is permission-based. So no information is forced on women. Would you like information about adoption, abortion? You know, I noticed on your intake form, you marked that you're undecided. Like, we're here to kind of help you sort through that. So it's permission-based. Everything we talk about is factual and true medically. We don't show graphic images. We don't show graphic videos. That's not on brand for me, and that is not on brand for Hopeline. I know that there are tactics that include that. That is not what we do at Hopeline. But we help them choose life, knowing that they're not alone. They don't have to feel like they have to have an abortion. Like, I don't think I've ever met a woman that gets pregnant for this just to be like, I can't wait to have an abortion. Like, that's not real. Often women feel like they need to choose abortion because they don't have another choice. So that's our intervention. We support them the first year of the child's life. They come every month to pick up baby clothes, diapers. And so...
Wait, before you go on, I just want to say that is absurd. Like, that you support every single month of the first year. Like, that's insane. Like, that is a lot of aid. Like,
yes.
I have 3 kids, and if we had someone who came alongside us and provided aid for the first year, like that is mind blowing. Like, what about, I know there's like a big debate between breastfed and formula fed. Do you also provide formula for that first year as well?
Yeah, we do.
That's insane. You're giving out golden tickets right now.
I know.
You realize that?
I mean, we give what we have. So, like, if we don't have formula donated, or sometimes when we're in a pickle, we call it. I mean, we've called BlackRock in a pinch, and BlackRock has been like, "Yep, we're going to drop off, X, Y, and Z for you." And I'm like, "Oh, thank gosh." During the formula shortage, that was rough. During COVID, that was rough. So if we have it, we give it. So we hugely rely on the community, on churches, on believers who are going to say, I'm not just pro-life, and I'm not just saying I'm pro-life. Like, I have the resources to at least buy 1 pack of diapers a year. I'm going to drop off diapers. Like, oh, I'm shopping at the grocery store and I see formula. I can buy, a can of formula, however often, and drop it off at Hopeline. Like, that is our lifeline. And women choose life because they know that we're like, we promise that we're here for you. And God is so good to us. I mean, we'll be low on diapers and we're like, all right, we're just going to stop and pray right now. Like, someone just called for size 4 diapers and we have none in any center. All right, let's just stop and pray. And I kid you not, like, within an hour, within a day, someone's knocking on the door with the diapers that we need. Like, God is so good to care so much better for the women that we serve than we ever could. And he knows the intimate needs that they have. So, it's super important.
That's awesome. That's super cool.
That
is really cool. Like, so I didn't realize Hopeline did all that. I thought it may, like, I didn't even have the proper terminology, because the only way I've heard pregnancy centers described were crisis pregnancy centers, which it always sounded like something really bad to me, like the way that it was phrased. So I didn't realize that you could also provide aid throughout that time. Like, that's just crazy to me. Like, that's incredible. That's super cool.
Honestly, if we had more storage space, if our centers were bigger, I would be like, let's go to 3 years old. Let's go to 5 years old. But we just don't have the space, the capacity to hold it all. So women choose life because they know they can depend on us. And we're serious about that. Like, we want you to choose life because we believe in your worth and value as a mom, as a dad, as a human being. BlackRock has done beautiful baby showers for our moms, which is so great. So a bunch of churches have done that, which we're so grateful for. So we're really committed to serving our moms that first year. So that's our intervention piece. And also spiritually, like, we pray with our moms. One of the foundations of our ministry is evangelism. And that doesn't necessarily mean that every time a woman or a couple walks through our doors, we're like, hey, do you know the gospel of Jesus Christ? And sometimes it is that. We had a salvation in our Stanford office like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. Yes. Crying. Amazing. I'm always crying. But it doesn't always mean, that we're like, this is the gospel. But sometimes it's just the hands and feet through love and care and compassion and resources. Like, this is what Jesus did. Like, we're a ministry of presence. We always say we exist, and we exist in the crisis, and women come to us in crisis literally all the time, but we're also a pregnancy resource center. And so we provide those resources. So that's the intervention piece. We have a motherhood group that meets. They talk about breastfeeding, formula feeding, all of that. They talk about the struggles of motherhood. That's great. A huge, awesome resource. They just had a meetup at a park this past weekend. All those mamas and those babies, super cute. And then the last piece of our ministry is recovery. And this is really important too. We offer biblical healing for men and women. All of our Bible studies were written by our former CEO, Linda Cochran, and I will never shut up about Linda because I am the president of her fan club. She is so cool. She just retired 2 years ago, and I still cry about it every day. Not every day, but I do miss her.
Is she local or she moved away?
She moved to Vermont, but I'll be in Alabama for a pro-life conference in 2 weeks, and we're teaching a workshop together. So I'm super excited to hang out with her. That's going to be fun. But she wrote these Bible studies and really pioneered the post-abortive healing movement in this country. Her testimony is awesome. I won't share it. That's her story to tell, but her testimony is incredible. So the recovery piece of our ministry is super vital because 1 in 3 women, which means 1 in 3 men, in the world and in the church have had an abortion. So think about your church, like think about BlackRock, think about Sanctuary. 1/3 of those women are post-abortive. Like that's a lot of hurting, broken women sitting in our church pews. That's a lot of hurting, broken men. The men that do know, there are so many men that don't even know that their children have been lost to abortion. So we do Bible studies for men and women who have experienced abortion, for men and women who have gone through sexual trauma, stillbirth, ectopic pregnancy. It could mean you lost a child who was older, like maybe a teen child in a car accident. It could mean you've lost parenthood through adoption. There's grief in choosing adoption as a parent, and healing and recovery. Like that's not an easy choice. So the recovery part of our ministry is also really, really, really important. There are a lot of people who need healing. So those are kind of the 3 pieces to Hopeline.
That's super cool.
It is so cool.
It is very cool.
Yeah, but I do say so myself.
Like, I don't want to keep like harping on the same thing, but just the fact that, because if you're not in the baby world, you wouldn't know the desperation that you feel when you're trying to feed a baby. Yeah. So like, I just want to reiterate this because it's worth reiterating for like, if you ever end up in a situation where you have a friend that like really needs to feed a child.
Yes.
It's the formula at the grocery stores is locked away.
Yes.
Because like, if you were a desperate parent who really wanted to feed your child, like you like, who wouldn't resort to stealing the baby formula?
Yes.
So the fact that like, if you have the ability to go out and buy formula and donate it to somewhere like Hopeline, it's like all the formula is locked away, like it's made of gold or something. Because
it makes me cry.
It's crazy.
I'm crying.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So it's just why I wanted to like go back and touch on that because like that's a huge contribution.
Yeah.
If you could help someone feed their baby, that's huge.
I mean, yeah, and like we have women who had abortion appointments scheduled, and they changed their mind because they got an ultrasound at Hopeline, and they heard that heartbeat. They saw the 4 chambers of the heart at 8 weeks, all pumping. Like it is so emotional. I use the word magical for my very spiritual friends. So sorry that I said magical, but like it really is. It's the most important room in each center is the ultrasound room. And so when there are women who were like, you can do this and we can do it with you, when they're in the, like it's 3 a.m. and the baby is screaming and you have no food and it's like, where do I turn to? If we can't say we're here for you, oh my gosh, the trauma of that, the postpartum trauma. I mean, there's so much involved. So yeah, it is so vital. And honestly, I often think about Hopeline. I try to think about Hopeline in the eternal perspective. Like we are literally, now I'm really gonna cry. We are literally rescuing generational lines from the grips of death. Like we are changing eternity. Jesus is using us to change the course of history. Like human beings are born because of the work of pregnancy centers. Sometimes I just can't even fathom being chosen to do that. Like literally, wow, I can't.
So that's crazy. So that's what Hopeline is in a nutshell. So did you have experience with friends who had abortions or friends who were considering it or anything in that world before you applied to the job and took the job? Going back to the story of how you got involved in the first place.
Yeah, no. I was pro-life because I was a Christian, and you're like, you're supposed to be pro-life. Like we know what the truth of Scripture says. Before I formed you, we know God is the creator. He gives and he takes. But I, honestly, God has been so good to me in my own story, just kept from even with friends, like kept from sexual sin in my own life, but also, sexual sin within my friend groups. So no one that I'm close with, I mean, people have come out after to share with me. And also, when you're involved in Hopeline, even if you're a volunteer, I feel like people just know. And I can't tell you how many people have come up to me and be like, this is my story. And I'm like, oh my gosh, let's pray real quick. And also, that was a lot for me to take in too. I can't imagine, the trauma that you're facing. But no. So before I got into Hopeline, I really didn't have a background in understanding the pro-life movement, understanding pro-life legislation. I had no concept. And, I know it's such a cheesy line, like, God qualifies the called, but it's so true. And I say this all the time. I'm unqualified for the job that I do. I mean, I've been at Hopeline since I was 25 years old. I'm 32 now. And given so much leadership, why? Like, I still have no idea what I'm doing. I really don't. And I say that, like, to the donors out there, I know exactly what I'm doing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. But I don't though. Like I do, and God obviously, constantly like, Lord, I do not know what to do about this. You have to help me. There's so much problem solving. So I didn't know anything. I was unqualified. Still am unqualified for the job, but God is always just like, I got you, girl. Like, we're going to do it together and you're going to be okay. And there are days where I'm like, like sobbing at my desk or like, what did I do wrong? And whatever. But, yeah, I had no idea. I had no idea what I was getting into. Literally no idea. Had no idea there would be many days that I would be in Hartford late at night, speaking at public hearings, talking to Congress. I had no idea. And God has opened so many incredible doors. We did March for Life this past year, March for Life Connecticut. And, the door was open for me to be one of the speakers at the March for Life, which I never would have ever envisioned for myself.
Did you do it?
I did it.
Nice.
Crushed it. No, I don't know. Maybe I did.
No, you did.
Who knows?
You did. I watched it. You did.
Watch it?
I
You're
did.
so cute, Allie. That is so cute. Literally, aw. That's so sweet.
No, it. And I think as you're talking about you being, qualified, I think like, you 25, 26, coming out of a year on the missions field, not really thinking about anything involving, certainly you are because I think thoughts in a row, you were speaking earlier about, talking in schools, right?
Yeah.
And public schools, you can't mention God. But I think exactly what you said, like what you're teaching are biblical principles.
Yeah.
That underneath it all, like I think this is the beauty of God because whether you're a believer or not, like I truly believe that like he is planting those seeds in every person's heart that is hearing this, even if they're like outright against it.
Sure.
Like we can trust in the Lord that like and ask for that work in their heart, like transform their heart.
Sure.
Just like the same way that you have gone to him saying like, I don't know the best decision right now.
Don't know. Never know.
But I know that you do. And like I think it's so beautiful that like you in Hopeline has such strong foundation in who God is and like the goodness that he has to like give because like you are still going to have the days where you're crying and you're completely clueless, but like because you've been here for 7 years, like
crazy. There's
no doubt. And I think over anything, it just, should be more of, the word confidence, but like you're in your role for a reason.
Yeah.
Like for 7 years, like that's most ministry positions have like quick turnover rate, like quick. And you are doing one that you're right. Life or death every single day.
Every hour of the day.
Like he's gonna bring you places that you never imagined you would be. In Hartford,
public hearing. What am I doing?
I don't know. I think we can take this whole, what you're sharing, just like trust in God. Like he really has you, even in the moments where you have no idea what's going on. And like, who knows, you might end up being in your dream position, for 7 years and a ministry that's growing.
Yeah.
Like that's just it's so cool.
Thank you.
Yeah,
It
I'm
is
pumped
so
for
cool.
you.
Thank you. Honestly, it is so cool. I feel like I blinked, and my 7-year anniversary is November 1st, so it's coming up. But I blinked.
Congrats.
Thank
Let's
you
throw a
so
party.
much. Yeah, let's have a party. I blinked, and I can't believe it's been 7 years. And I look back, and Linda retired 2 years ago, and I stepped into her position, and just over the years, it's like, oh my gosh, when I sit and look back, so much has changed, so much has happened in my time as the leader of the ministry. We've done 3 build outs, 2 moves, like wild things, so many staff changes. I mean, just so much, but God really is so faithful and he's so good. And I know the audience for this is mostly Sanctuary, right? Yeah.
We think so. And my mother-in-law.
Aw. What about your mama?
No.
Heidi.
Heidi.
Come on, Heidi.
I know.
All right, we'll get her. Well, now I'm on, so she'll listen.
Yeah.
But I know that, I'm just going to put it out there. Like, being a single woman in ministry is really hard. And I know that just a single woman in leadership in general, and honestly, any leadership position. And so I know that there are a lot of single women at Sanctuary too. And just to encourage you, like, you can do it. Some days it really stinks. But some days it's really great. And that's an encouragement to everyone too. Like, I've been doing it for more than 7 years. For like 10 years, I've been in full-time ministry, single. And, God is good and he's faithful and he carries me on the days that I'm just like limp in his arms. But yeah, just encourage all the single women. I don't know what it's like to be a single guy, so I'm not going to go there, but.
Well, I'm not a single guy.
Well, I know. I mean,
I couldn't give you the opposite perspective, and I'm not going to call out anybody who could give the perspective. So there's no guy here who can help you out.
Weird.
But I was curious. Oh, 2 things. First of all, I want to say someone told me that it takes like 5 years to finally hit your stride in a position. It's like now you know what it's like to work in this position and have the authority and all that stuff. But I'm curious how your view on everything that Hopeline does and like the state of women in Connecticut, how all your view of everything has changed since before you started working at Hopeline and now that you work at Hopeline. Does that make sense?
can you say that again? I was focused on fixing my hair.
It's okay.
Sorry.
I have to do that a lot too.
It's really hard with these headphones.
But isn't it nice hearing your voice?
Is it?
I don't know. As I'm asking you.
I don't know. It's like kind of weird to hear your own voice.
It is, but it's better when Zach, you change Allie's voice. Allie, say something funny.
I'm not that funny, so I don't know what to say.
What happened to it? We had it before. It was incredible. I thought you were gonna come in with this nice, smooth, silky voice.
Ooh.
That Zach had this.
That's me.
It was like that before, but on your mic. It would have been incredible.
Really silky smooth, is that what you said?
It would have been silky smooth, nice and deep. There's nothing we can do about it. Anyways, all right, hold on, focus.
Moving on.
Focus. So, how is your view of the state of women and the abortion and like pro-life, how all that stuff has changed since working at Hopeline compared to before you're working at Hopeline?
This is a very important question. And also, I feel like very important for the church, capital C church, to understand. Not that you have to have my same opinion, but I think my opinion's right. So here we go. Honestly, it's so easy, obviously, to be judgmental in like any capacity, but there's so much shame and condemnation within the church, honestly. And the church has come a long way, but also we have a lot to do. I'm in it, around sex outside of marriage, abortion. Obviously, sex often leads to abortion and unplanned pregnancies. And I think I'm very type 1 on the Enneagram, type A. And so like justice is my thing, like really black and white. And so the Lord has changed a lot in my heart around that. And I think before I came to Hopeline, it probably would have been a lot easier for me to be judgmental about someone who may have had an abortion or even who had sex outside of marriage. I'm like, you're not supposed to do that. So like, what are you doing? But God has totally like 180'd my heart in a lot of ways. Not that I'm okay with sex outside of marriage or abortion, but just the judgment piece of it. Like, you do not know what it's like to be in that position. And like, you just don't know. I mean, we've had I've sat across from pastors' daughters making these decisions, and it is not black and white. And the Lord has totally changed my heart in such a compassionate way, towards women and the men, when they come. They don't come often. When it's usually women alone, which is another issue, huge issue. But he's changed my heart in that capacity so much. There was one day when I was center director in Stanford. It was pretty early on in my time as the leader of that center, and I would get so frustrated when women would cancel, or they wouldn't show. They wouldn't even tell me they were canceling. They wouldn't show for their pregnancy test. I'm like, what is going on? Like, what's happening? And the Lord so tenderly told me, like, Adrienne, these women don't think they're important. Like, they don't think they're valuable. So they think like, what's it to you? What's it to Hopeline if I don't cancel, if I don't show? Like, it doesn't matter. And I just wept in my office. I just was like, oh my gosh, Lord, I knew what it meant for my heart to break, for what breaks yours, like in that moment. And I think so often the pro-life movement in general, it's a spectrum for sure. And I lean a lot in one direction of the pro-life movement. So often the picture that's painted of the pro-life movement is that we only care about the child. And that is just not true, at least for me and for Hopeline. That's just not true. When someone walks through the door, we see the woman first, but we know that she is equal to the child that she's carrying. And so when we're sitting across from women, we're problem solving for them, for the sake of their child and for the sake of them. And so, my perspective had to shift there too. Like, no. Like, her worth is equal in value. Like, her value is equal to the child that she's carrying. And that is so profound in the work that we do. Like, we cannot be effective if we don't understand the truth of that. And so the Lord had to teach me that too. Not that I didn't care about the women. It's just so much of what I heard about pro-life was just the baby. And so that was a learning curve in a great way for me also. That was really important. And so, yeah, just the recognition that, like, when she walks through the door, that is equally God's creation as the child that she's carrying.
As you are talking about how, usually the focus is on the child, I want your perspective, because I feel like from what I see, on social media and all that, like, I feel like there's been a shift where now it's all about the woman and all about like what she wants for her life and what other people want for her life. And
on both sides of the argument or one side?
I think both. Okay. Well, I think specifically what I'm trying to get at is like, right, like it's all about what the woman want. Like, they don't care about the baby. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, it's just a fetus. Disposable. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yes. So like, how's Hopeline kind of dealt, I think in the last couple of years, like that's really been the shift of like, baby's going to do this to me. And it's going to stop me. It's going to whatever, especially in this like girl boss go getter thing. Like how, I mean, I think you kind of just answered it, but like if we can maybe go a little bit deeper. Yeah. I would love to go deeper into that.
Yeah. So I have a lot of thoughts on that. So first of all, I think that, I not to get too like theological, but like I think individualism, like it's very self-centered, and that's not like we're all like God created us to work together, and so having the perspective of like what I want, and it's easy for me to say that. I'm not in a position where I'm facing an unplanned pregnancy, so just take everything with a grain and hear me when I'm saying this. Like as Christian, I'm talking to the Christians, right? Like we can't be self-centered in how we operate. And honestly, choosing sex outside of marriage, like honestly, is selfish. you know, we know what God says to us, and I know it's not easy. I know it's hard, and I'm not please understand my heart and all this.
Yeah, there's no shame.
There's no shame, but there is truth to what God's word says. And so I think, you know, often the pro-choice side, that's the angle that they're going from.
Yeah.
But what I hear when the pro-choice side says that is women can't. You're not good enough to be a mom and also finish your degree. You're not smart enough to be a mom and also go after your job. Like, that's what I hear when I hear the pro-choice side just say, but don't you want to like follow your dreams and accomplish this vision you had? Like, yeah, so many women have done that with children. Like, who says you can't? Like, you're telling me I can't. What? Like, that's wild to me. So, you know, and also just very honestly, there are abortion giants in this country that benefit financially off of a woman's choice. And so of course they're going to tell you you can't. Of course they're going to tell you you need abortion. Their pockets are getting lined because of the shedding of innocent blood. And that is scary and super demonic and really evil. So, yeah, did I answer your question?
Yeah.
I feel like...
But we have Hopeline.
Yes, we have Hopeline.
And they are
and a lot of other pregnancy
into,
centers. Yeah.
Yes. Speaking into that
Women
lie of
can.
can't. Yes.
Yes, you can do it. We can help you. We're going to give you an entire referral resource list so that you can get connected to all these resources in the area. That's why we have churches. Like, we're a parachurch ministry. We need the church, and also the church needs Hopeline. And so that's why we work so closely with churches. Like, we get women connected to churches. And honestly, this is an amazing story that I'm going to tell really quickly. When I was center director in Stanford, so crazy. The first office that we were in Stanford, above us was a dentist office. And in the past, they had like pipes burst. You know, dentists, they have like all the water stuff. And it flooded our center like twice. So one day I heard loud noises and I was like, oh no, I was panicked. I was just going to get the ceiling was going to cave in on me. So I ran upstairs and I was like, hey, what's going on up here? And they're like, oh, they're just working on the roof. I was like, thank God. But the woman at the front desk at the dentist office, she whispered to me, she said, do you work downstairs? And I said, yes, I do. And she said, can I come down for a pregnancy test? And I'm like, get down here, girlfriend. We're going to help you. And so she came down and she had a pregnancy test and it was positive. And I think she had, I want to say that was a Tuesday. She had an abortion scheduled on Friday. And we were able to squeeze her in for like a last minute emergency ultrasound on a Thursday. And she chose life. Amazing. Crying. When do I not cry? She chose life for her daughter, ended up coming to my church. Whoa. They dedicated her daughter at my church.
Wow.
And the father of the baby got baptized. I think I baptized him.
That's crazy.
That's incredible.
It was insane. Like, and this is also corny, but I always say it. Like, we want women and families to choose life, but honestly, more importantly, we want them to choose life in Christ. And that's why I say we play the long game. Like, we're here. We see them for over a year, right? It's the first year of the child's life, but they're coming to us at 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks pregnant. Like, they're early on in their pregnancies. So we get the opportunity to minister to them for like almost 2 years. So that's so many touch points that they get with us. So anyway, yeah, we need the church. The church needs us. We don't believe the lie that women can't. Absolutely not. No. Bye. Get out. No.
That's cool. I had a question pop up that I've never thought of before, but you made me curious. It's probably a really quick answer, but you were talking about just different women coming for like they may be considering abortion. Do you ever come across like married couples? So you're talking about like premarital sex and how that leads to these type of decisions. Have you ever had married couples come into Hopeline?
Yeah.
What's that experience like? Like, why are they there? Like, what? I'm just curious. I've never even thought of that before.
Yeah,
so.
We see a lot of different demographics. Honestly, all three, Stanford and Bridgeport, our Stanford Bridgeport centers are most similar in the demographics that they see as far as marriage. Danbury Center, I think I would say sees a lot more married women than the other two centers, but we do see married women. I feel like recently we've seen older married women that are like, oh shoot, I'm 45. didn't think that I could get pregnant. And their body was like, yeah, girl, you still can.
Wow.
And so they're like, what do I do? Like, I have 18 kids in college. Like, what do I do right now? So we've definitely seen that, not as often as younger women. Honestly, we see mostly 20. I feel like most of the women that are considering abortion are in their 20s, early 30s. Like, I'm graduating college. I'm following my dreams. I'm just starting my career. I don't want this to, ruin that. But we definitely have seen, married women for sure. Not all of them are considering abortion. And also, we don't only serve, we exist really to help women choose life, but we do serve, we will not turn anyone away. So we serve women who maybe, they don't work, or they are working, or their husband, their insurance just changed. So they have like 90 days where they don't have insurance coverage. And they're like, I just want to make sure that I'm okay and everything's okay with the baby. So, we've done ultrasounds for that.
Let's say someone is coming from like an unsafe relationship.
Just the last week.
How do you deal with that? Let's say there's like a woman in some sort of unsafe situation.
Yep.
I'm not sure exactly. Maybe you could like give us an example of that, because I'm speaking from ignorance. I have no idea. I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
Can you
we
give
see it
us
all the
like an
time.
example or a story or something, and how you guys handle those cases?
Yeah. So we see it a lot. Obviously, if it's a minor, then we can step in. I've called DCF on several occasions. We've recently had to call DCF for a patient. We had a 15-year-old. We actually have a couple of 15-year-olds right now, which is very sad. With statutory rape.
Wow.
We see women who come from crossing the border who have been raped on their way here. Honestly, devastating. Probably can't talk more about that because I will fall apart. But we recently had a woman last week at one of our centers who feels very unsafe in her home, and she's over 18. She's an adult, so she has to be willing to leave. And that's really hard too, because so many women are comfortable in their abusive situation because they just don't see a way out. They don't see how it's possible to, or they're scared. There's so many reasons why women stay. And it's important that we're sensitive to that at Hopeline, but also just like in general. I think it's really easy to be like, we'll just leave. And that's just not real. The father of the baby is verbally abusive to her. She's concerned about physical abuse. We give all the resources. A lot of what we do. So what we did, sorry, I'm all over the place. What we did with this case is you never want to send them home with information about domestic violence, because if her partner or her abuser sees that will be so much worse for her. So we do everything at Hopeline. We're going to call the Domestic Violence Crisis Center here with you on our phone. So he can't look at your phone and see the calls that you've made. We're going to look up the website on our computers so he can't see your search history. All of that, we do that here at Hopeline as a protection for her. So again, it has to be her decision. Obviously, we can't force her. We call 211 for her, find crisis housing that night. We do whatever we can. Honestly, it can be really hard because it's usually they don't come alone. This one, she came alone. Usually the abuser's with them. Because on the intake form, we ask if you're a victim of abuse. But if he's there, we've had abusers that will fill out the form for the women. Whoa. It's like, oh my gosh. It's so frustrating. So the bathroom is like the only time sometimes that we get. So we'll shut the door behind us and we'll say, are you safe? What's going on? Like, do you need an out right now? We have panic buttons in our centers that call the police immediately. If we need to. We haven't used them yet. We've had panic situations. I got a death threat last year, so that was fun.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Was it written or was it email?
It was a text. Described
text?
Yeah, to our text line. So
I was like, you give out your personal cell phone number?
Absolutely not. You got to work for that. You know what I mean? No, it's a text line. We have a text line for Hopeline. And just so women can contact us easily. And it came through our text line, and the threatener, I don't know, what do we call them? The person described me physically. In case you're wondering, it was my fault that Roe v. Wade got overturned. And so they were really upset about it. So it was me that needed to be on the chopping block for that. So anyway, yeah, we have had, the police were involved. That was crazy. We have had like crazy situations. We've had an employee whose husband kind of went buck wild. Yeah, wild things. So we've upped our safety measures at Hopeline significantly. Cameras, buzz entry, panic buttons. We're like all women, just like sitting at the front. We're like very exposed. Anyway.
Get a woman's security guard. Then you keep it all women.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Super cool. The police are actually great with us, honestly. When we knew, so I got a tip because I'm that in with the pro-life movement that Roe v. Wade was going to be overturned within like hours. So,
Whoa.
Yeah, I'm not really that cool. I don't know actually
that
how it
sounds
happened.
like a pretty good in.
So what'd you do?
We called the police stations in every city and we asked them to be around the centers because then the last summer, so many centers got attacked, firebombed, like graffitied, broken windows, bricks. Yeah, it was
really.
insane.
Did that happen in any of the Hopeline areas?
No, thank God. God was
That's
so good to
crazy.
us.
Whoa.
But he gave me a vision that there were an army of angels surrounding all of our centers, so I knew we were
awesome.
good. But that's when my death threat came in. So anyway, we called the police and they were great. They were kind of driving around, stationed outside of our centers for a couple days after.
That's cool. That's actually like really cool of them because they didn't have to do that after like
they
the
did
initial
not
calls.
have to do that. And I don't even live I live in Norwalk by the Chick-fil-A. Everyone knows the Chick-fil-A,
Yes, we do.
So
Don't go
anyway, so I actually called the Norwalk police station. I actually know the chaplain for the Norwalk Police Department. So they were great. And we're kind of driving around where I live too. Because, again, I'm a single woman. I'm not going to tell you where I live. I live on the first floor.
You keep getting more descriptive. You keep getting less
there's
descriptive.
a lot of places where you could live on the first floor.
All right.
But there's a dog, so
I do have a dog, but he's a big fat. No, he's not fat.
Super brave dog with big teeth.
He's tough and scary,
Yeah.
will
No.
take down any threat.
Literally, no. He's like a 75-pound teddy bear, yellow lab, and is just like, I want to be your friend. I want to be your friend. Would not protect me. Love my little guy, my big guy, but he would be like, come in. This is exactly where she sleeps. Would you like me to offer you coffee?
Your dog can't talk.
Yeah, he can
And
actually.
make coffee.
Yeah, it's a spiritual gift. I understand him. So anyway, no, the police department in Norwalk was great. I live on the first floor, super exposed, slider. Anyone could come after me. So
Just too many details.
it's not too many
You're
details.
exposed at home. You're exposed at work.
I moved.
There you go.
No, I didn't. Anyway, it's fine. The police department has been great. So unfortunately, we have dealt with, situations where the police have been required. We do get women who are abused that come into Hopeline, and obviously we pray with them and we pray for them. We have staff prayer every Thursday. We pray for our patients by name. And so God knows how to take care of them better than we do. And that is something that we always tell ourselves. I need to tell myself that every day. And also, I feel like every day I need to be like, it's God's job to save the baby. It's not my job. Because it's really easy to be like, what could I have said differently? What didn't I say? What should I have said? And just mull it over for way too long. And I'm just like, no, I need to surrender that. So, yeah, it's very emotional working at Hopeline.
Yeah, I feel like that would be a very difficult part for me.
Yeah.
Because
Same.
they are coming to you and you give them all the options and then you have to wait and see.
Yeah. And sometimes we never hear from them again.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's like
Yeah.
a really hard part.
Yeah.
Of my life.
I think with that, like kind of more like practical Hopeline things. Like I would love to know like what that looks like. And again, I think we've kind of touched on that. But then also like the second layer to that, I think, is, how do you continue care for them? And then when there is a situation that maybe they're pregnant again, like how...
Which happens a lot.
Yeah, so like I would
We
just...
call it a replacement baby.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Replacement baby.
Yeah. So a lot of women, when they have an abortion, they naturally feel like riddled with guilt and emotion. And often the pro-choice side likes to tell them, oh, it's no big deal. Like, it's fine. It's just a clump of cells. Like, it's just like getting your teeth pulled. And so then when they feel the regret and when they feel the shame, they feel like they can't be honest about it because they were told that they shouldn't feel that way. And so now we're telling women that their feelings are wrong. Yikes. That's a dangerous place to be. Yeah, that's scary. So first of all, we are always available with open arms, just like literally all the time. If you look at our Google reviews, so many of them are like, I didn't feel judged, I felt loved. And honestly, that's not a testament, to me. First of all, I always want to honor like the previous leaders. The founder of Hopeline is still alive. His name is Eli Whitney. He did not invent the cotton gin though.
What about the school in Stratford? Eli Whitney.
Oh, is it? I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that was after our Eli Whitney, but probably after the cotton gin inventor. I don't know. But Eli Whitney's still alive and he is amazing. And, Linda, the former CEO, and Patty Cortuccio, who many of you probably know, the former ED, also kind of obsessed with her. They really set the precedent with Jesus for the culture of Hopeline. And I often say now, I don't care about my culture. I don't care. We want the culture of the Holy Spirit at Hopeline. And so it's such a testament to see the women who write Google reviews and say they felt so loved and cared for and seen, to see that they didn't feel judged is yes, we're literally doing what God wants us to do. Oh my gosh, it's such validation that we are in line with the Lord, and that's incredible. So we're always available. We do get women who have chosen abortion, unfortunately. I mean, I had a patient when I was the center director in Stanford. Because I'm executive director now, I'm not so in the nitty-gritty with our patients. I'm a lot more administrative at this point. But she had an abortion. She was so do I do it? Do I not? Do I do it? Do I not? And she got pressured into doing it. She was screaming in my arms. And, we were able to walk through recovery with her. And she's pregnant again. This is years later now.
Yeah.
And came back to Hopeline, and so beautiful that she felt like she could come to us, again, right after her abortion. She walked through our recovery program and now is pregnant again, married, and just, God has been good to her. She surrendered her life to Christ. Another great story. So our doors are literally always open, but we do get a lot of women who will get pregnant pretty immediately after, because of the guilt. They're like, I need to right this wrong. And, conceptually, in their crisis mode brain, they're like, this is the right thing to do. And we know it's not the same baby. It's not the same human being. But it does happen often that women have what we call replacement babies, but they come back and we're there for them. And we offer them recovery if they're interested, and we love them and we pray with them and we celebrate with them and we mourn with them. We grieve with them. We grieve a lot at Hopeline. There's a lot of miscarriages that happen at Hopeline, just not at Hopeline, but in general. Yeah. Am I answering your question?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think, from a woman, knowing what has to be perfectly in line to become pregnant.
Yep, a lot.
Is insane, which
I could teach
God's
health.
hand.
Do you want me to teach health right now?
Right. There's no, to me, I think this is something that's been on my heart a lot this year. There's looking at, my nieces and nephews that are coming into this world.
Finley. Oh my gosh, shout out to Finley.
Shout out to Finley.
Shout out
Grace.
Finley. And Elliot. We love Elliot.
And Elliot. The fact that pregnancy even happens is God's hand is all over that
miracle.
babe.
Yeah. I mean, there's a very small window of the month.
Yes.
To get pregnant.
Very, very small. So the fact that it happens is just, I think that's been so heavy on my heart and really, so I have people in my life, not as close to anymore, but are more pro-choice. Mm-hmm. I just think about the miracle of not only pregnancy, but then childbirth. Yeah. And I feel like there's, again, with the work you do, and I've got to talk to Laura about this. Yeah. And it just, I can't imagine actually the weight of employees of Hopeline experience and volunteers. And then the moms, what they're going through, and to not be believers and not quite know that, but you guys give an opportunity for that
They're so brave. They're literally so brave.
Yeah, like put on their hearts, and not in a manipulative, not in a, this is what you have to do.
Nope.
Like I think that can be so delicate and like just knowing the reality of that, and that you guys offer so much. It's just so cool. I don't know exactly where I was trying to go with that. I think just the miracle of it all and knowing that like pregnancies, to me, I believe pregnancies cannot happen other than God's power. Like it's just, it's insane.
Honestly, most of the times in scripture, when God talks about conception or babies, he says like, and I opened her womb, or it's a pregnancy or conception is associated with a gift. So yes. And also cool fact, when a sperm and egg meet, there is a flash of light because of the zinc.
Whoa,
and
that's
so,
cool.
yes, we know that because of Petri dishes. We don't know that from going and seeing it happened in action. Okay, anyway.
Yep.
I'm sure we have the technology to do that, though, right?
Yeah, but then you're like, I mean, inside of a woman, I feel like that's,
I don't know.
I feel like that's
Maybe a
really
little
dangerous.
invasive.
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of dangerous. But anyway, when sperm and egg meet, there's a flash of light because of the zinc that's produced. And just like,
That's so cool.
Jesus.
I didn't know that. Yeah, that's
it's
amazing.
just like Jesus written all over it. It
Just
really
like
is.
Jesus.
I mean,
Sunday school answer. Jesus.
But it's so is though. There's like no other explanation. So yes, we're all living miracles, which is incredible. But also, just to get pregnant. I mean, there are a lot of people close to me who have struggled with that or are still struggling, and there's mourning in that too.
Right.
And just the gift, the miracle of it is just incredible. So
Well, so if people want to find out more about Hopeline, where do we go from here? Like, where do they go to find that type of stuff? Can you fill us in?
Yeah, so we're on Instagram.
Oh, I've heard that your Instagram is mostly your dog.
Yeah, that's true. It's his fan page. Or Finley.
Or in my niece.
or Finley. Or just me embarrassing myself. So, but I'm not good at like professional Instagram. Like, no idea what I'm doing. You know, analytics, what? I can't wrap my head around that. So we do have an Instagram, so you can follow us at Hopeline_pregnancy_centers. Honestly, amazing that I remembered that.
It's pretty long.
Yeah, well, but it's so kind of like, we got to be who we are.
True.
You know, it's got to say who we are. We have a website, hopelineprc.org. You can find us online.
If you just Google Hopeline, are you guys like the first result?
Maybe. Don't even know.
That'd be good to know.
Hopeline Pregnancy Center.
Yeah,
Hopeline
probably. If
Pregnancy
you're like
Center.
region, if you're like in the area, I'm sure we come up first.
Sure.
So you can Google us. Yeah.
You can go to the
Zach is
center.
nodding his head. So when you type in Hopeline, I think that means that, yes, I'm getting nods, that we come up first. Yep.
Hey,
so
there you
Hopeline.
go.
Yeah. So you can Google us. I should probably know that. Whoops. No, now.
Showing
Yeah.
up. Going to a center.
Yes, come, but also call us before, because confidentiality. We
Sure.
really like to keep our patients as private as possible
Yeah, makes
for their
sense.
sake. So we have had people bust up through the doors. They're like, "Hey, just stay on the street." And like, there's a woman like crying in the waiting room, filling out her intake form, and I'm like, "Help her." So yeah, call before, but we'd love to have you visit. It's so fun to show people the center. We're so excited about our centers. Zach came, he led worship for us for one of our staff trainings.
Hey,
once.
shout out to Zach.
Yes, and
follow
Russ-
his Instagram.
And your sister, Russ, she came and did a little Devo for us at Hopeline for one of our staff training. Actually, same staff training that Zach did. So
Hey,
anyway.
shout out to Bethany Scrignoli.
Shout out to Bethany Scriggs.
Good luck finding that on Instagram. That's a long, it's a hard to spell last name. It's not spelled correctly in my
but
phone. Just
also,
saying.
like, if you're a good brother, you know she's not on Instagram anymore.
So that's an extra
Gulp.
difficult.
Exposed.
Good luck finding that on Instagram.
We called them the Spaghettis for a while.
The Spaghettis?
Because no one could say Scrignoli. I mean, I could say it because I'm like authentically Italian, but not really.
Really?
Well, kind of. I'm second generation American.
So I was pressuring them to name their son Stromboli.
Oh my God. Cole?
Yeah, Stromboli Scrignoli. It's a great name. It's
Amazing.
super Italian name.
I'm into that though. Yeah.
Also,
I'm going to just start calling him that.
yeah, how delicious are Strombolis? by the
Also,
way?
how delicious is Cole though? Like I could eat him. I
Yeah,
have
it's
cute
kinda
aggression. No, it's
Yeah.
not. He's adorable. All of them are.
It's true. It's true.
Piper,
All right, so before we end, because like there's so much more to talk about, so maybe we'll have to do a part 2 someday.
Whoa.
But before we go, Ali, you have the basketball over there. You got to pass the basketball to our special guest, Adrian. You get one shot.
Where's the hoop?
Where's the hoop? Are you serious? This is our brand new basketball hoop. It was a gift
Again, something
because
else that wasn't here last time.
well, we just got this last week. Yeah, it's brand new.
Can I just preface by saying I'm
Nope.
great at a lot of things,
Nope.
but athletic. I was captain of the swim team in high school,
Yes.
and I did play softball
You
in college.
were captain of the swim team.
You know it, girl.
What was your stroke? Is that something people say?
Yeah, it is something people say, but mostly I was captain because I'm the hype man. You know, like I'm good
Okay.
to like hype you up.
Yeah.
I did race. I mean, I was like.
I did race. I may have come in last place,
No,
but I was the
didn't.
hype man.
I could swim 50 yards in like 33 seconds.
Is that good? I'm
it's
not
like
up
high
with you.
school. Okay.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Ellie, do you
great.
know swim stuff?
I
my sister was on swim team.
There we go.
I chose not to ever do swim. I'm not the strongest swimmer,
honestly like
so I said no, thank you.
it was hard on my hair. You know? The glory.
How'd you fit all that hair in a swim cap?
That was ridiculous.
Was that in your buzz sides phase where you buzz the sides?
I
and
never
just had-
buzzed the sides.
You never buzzed the
This
sides?
is my crowning glory.
What
It's
was
never
the
going anywhere.
craziest hairstyle you ever had?
I was blonde for a second.
What?
Bad luck.
Wow. How long?
What?
That must have taken a lot of product.
Immediately no. Yeah. That was rough.
Well, you knew her then?
No.
Oh.
Could you imagine me blonde?
No, do you have any pictures?
I will dig them out of the
All right,
archives.
we have an ability to put picture
No.
up on here, so we'll toss it on
No,
the podcast.
it
so
was like
everybody can see.
damaged, bleached, gross straw hair.
Britney Spears,
No, worse.
Christina Aguilera.
No, it wasn't that bleachy. It just was like, it was not a good. I'm just the skin tone, the eyes. It
Yeah.
just doesn't do it.
What
for
about you,
the
Allie?
blondes.
Worst hairstyle or haircut?
Jeez.
You ever buzz one on the sides of your head?
No.
I did have a mushroom cut as a kid. My mom
Me
was
too.
so. I will find a picture of that. That you can insert.
Oh
'cause
man,
that's hilarious.
we'll put up all of our mushroom pictures. Do you have a mushroom
Yes.
picture?
No, I don't.
come
You're
on.
so
I
lucky.
had short hair, like right underneath your earlobes. Random strangers, like, your hair is gorgeous. Like, what's your routine? What's your whatever, all the things. As I'm like 10, I'm like, I don't know. My mom did it. You know, like I don't really know, but it was long and curly. It was
my
like
gosh, I need to see
my
a
favorite.
picture.
People would always be so shocked that it wasn't like naturally curly.
I gotta get a pic. Text it to me later.
All right, we're
Okay.
gonna get your perm, your blonde
Mushroom
hair,
cut.
and
No,
my mushroom
I'll
cut
try
all
and
up on
find the
there at the
blonde
same
hair.
time.
Ugh, vom. Okay, yeah. So I was swim team and I played softball in college. Right field, worst position. Like no coordination.
Was it
so,
just because you were the hype man?
I don't know why they let me on the team. Honestly, there's only 9 players, 9 positions in softball, and I'm pretty sure there are only 9 of us on the team. So I like had to
That's
play.
why.
Did you get a scholarship?
No, I was on scholarship for violin though.
You can play the violin?
Yep.
What?
New stuff keeps coming out.
I know.
Who am I?
Yeah, you have to play the violin for us next
Yeah.
time.
Well-
all right. So if you miss the shot, the podcast ends immediately. We don't even get to say goodbye. The podcast is
Okay,
just
well,
over.
I have one more important thing to say.
All right, go for it.
If you want to get involved at Hopeline, we are hiring. This is very important. We are hiring for our Stanford Center. I need a center director in Stanford starting immediately. So if you're interested, reach out to me.
Your personal cell phone
My
number
personal
is?
cell phone is. Beep. Yeah, beep it out. No, you can find me somewhere. Call Russ. He is my number. Yeah, we are hiring. Also, you can always volunteer. We love having volunteers in the center. Volunteer. And also, if anyone feels the nudge to give financially, we do everything for free to save babies and women and families. And it requires a lot of funds. So even if you're like, hey, I can throw $15 Hopeline's way, throw $15 our way. And that is what I wanted to say. So
Perfect.
I
So
know
take
the
your shot.
podcast is literally going to end right now because
Yeah, that's all right. You're going to make it. All right, here we go.
I'm so nervous.
No. Oh, come on. That you came so short. You're like 2 feet short.
I'm just like so dainty and like feminine.
Well, if we were to say bye to everybody, now we can say bye. Bye. But it's too late.
Sorry.
It's over.
To
Bye.
disappoint you.
It's all right.
Should we end by yelling my name again?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Ready?
Because she missed.
Yeah, yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
Okay.
We didn't count that. You got to count. Someone's got to count. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Adrian!
That's good. That's good. I like that.
I got a broken fist, I got a cut on the eye, I got a ticket on the chin, so someone might take me serious.